Hey, this week on an Inside Look, we actually went inside. And so we started talking about the techniques that we use in sex therapy. It was a blast. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. All right. Good morning, fabulous ladies. We are live and recording. And our topic for today is going to be the techniques we use in sex therapy. The techniques we use in sex therapy. So just let me just say good morning again and let you ladies check in, and then Sharon, we'll throw it to you unless you want me to go first about techniques. So go ahead.
Okay, so we am I jumping right into the topic?
We'll say hey to the people.
Oh, well, hey everybody.
All right, then go ahead and jump in.
Okay, so I'm a little bit new to sex therapy, so I'm still learning more about sensate focus therapy, which is a technique that's used in sex therapy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What techniques are you using now with your clients? What do you think? Even if it's not specifically sex therapy, what are you usually doing in sex therapy sessions?
Okay, so in most of my sex therapy sessions, I guess most of the techniques that I use are really especially if a couple is suffering from not having a lot of sex. So one
Mm-hmm.
thing is they maybe only have sex sometimes or never, is planning sex days.
Mm-hmm.
And one so it works two ways, okay? So some people who suffer from anxiety say, well, I can't plan sex days because it's just going to make
Mm-hmm.
me
More
be more
anxious.
anxious.
Mm-hmm.
So then I just tell them, well, then just plan the days that sex is absolutely off the table,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's good.
And so then you have the ones that feel like, well, if I plan a sex day, then it's not organic and it's not natural. So I think that if your brain is not used to doing something, then you have to reprogram your brain and then just jump in and just
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't want to, even
Mm-hmm.
if it presents some awkwardness, if it's nothing wrong with you medically that would prevent you from doing that, then you need to just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you have to get some lube or whatever you have to do, just do it.
Right. And what I tell people is when you're dating, a lot of times you're planning sex. Like
Mm.
you when you're dating, you know good and well, ladies, I'm specifically talking to you. You know, okay, I got this waxed, I got this taken care of, I got this together. You're preparing yourself that this activity may happen. And so when we're saying, set a date, make a date, put it on the calendar, we're saying set the stage. Just like when you used to date with this person, of this is the time that we carved out in our schedule, where we called our friends and said, hey, don't come looking for me Saturday night, I'm not answering the phone. Like, and so that's what we want, like that attention, that set aside sacredness to the being with each other, and have everything ready so if something does pop off, it does. And so, Sharon, usually you ask your couples to start how on a scheduled sex session? What do you how do you ask them to start?
Well, I'll just say, have you just ever thought about planning a day for sex?
Mm-hmm.
And usually they go, no, we haven't really thought about that. Or they'll say, yeah, we tried that, but it didn't work. So then we figure out, I'd rather talk about the people who feel like they tried it and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why didn't it work?
Yeah.
So, and then we go to, then sometimes some of the bigger dynamics come up. Well, because I had to cook dinner, and after I cooked dinner all night and clean the kitchen and do all of this, then, that's why it's not working. So then
Mm-hmm.
it gives an opportunity for another type of exploration. Well, wait, do you have to cook dinner on your sex day? You
Mm-hmm.
know, what is it that you can take away on those days to help you get in the mood? Because
Mm-hmm.
I always say I want to believe that it's something you just don't have to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
maybe more than one thing you just don't have to do. So then we
Mm-hmm.
sort of go through the list. Okay, well, we know you have to go to work. Yeah. Okay, we know you had to pick up your kids. We understand
Mhm.
that. So now after the kids are picked up, what is something that will make your life easier after them?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's
So it
kind
sounds
of how
like you're
we
doing
do.
a lot of problem solving with them with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
I would
good.
say probably reprioritizing, helping them. And I think one of the things with our culture in general these days, we get so busy doing all of the things, we forget the why of why we're doing them.
Why?
And so I'm working so that I can have a better life. Okay, do you have a better life? Do you? You know, I'm working so that we can afford all these things so that we can have a better life. Do you have a better life? You and so I think sometimes we're helping clients clarify, okay, really what are your values? Okay, what else, Sharon?
Because guess how I know all of this?
How?
Because of being in supervision with you when I was an intern.
All right, say more.
So it works. Because you told me, hey, Sharon, it got to be something these people can do, not do. Do they have to do their laundry? And that stuck
Hmm.
with me in a lot of different ways. And I use that not just with sex all the time. So being in
Yeah.
supervision with you sometimes helped me. And I'm like, So I started implementing some of that stuff and it increased my sex life. Well, I ain't gonna cook. So you going to the store to get some frozen pizza,
Hmm.
pick one.
Right, right. And I really haven't had a husband yet say, no, I don't want pizza. I want you to cook and not have sex. Like I just have not had that happen. I
Right.
just have just not had that happen.
And when
So,
you
oh, go ahead.
And when you plan those things, right? So I would just speak for my personal testimony. So when you plan those things and you just do it, and then the brain start operating and
Hmm.
recognizing something different, right?
Hmm.
Initiation becomes easier, and then cues become easier to read. Because if my husband walked in with some Burger King,
Hmm.
then I know that that means
You
that,
don't have to
oh,
cook.
okay, he's trying to make my life easier.
Hmm.
So that means we have less to worry about, and then we
Hmm.
have time to build a momentum. So it was almost just a conversation where we had to listen to each other. Well, I can't
Oh,
cook, work, see about the kids, and then be even in the mood to think about intimacy, right?
right.
So he learned how to take some things off my plate so that we can even start the process of building that connection
Hmm.
to even get there, right? Because I had
Hmm.
to communicate. Well, wait, I can't go from cleaning, working, seeing about the kids, and taking a shower and just being ready.
Hmm.
Why not?
I be
You
needing
got
a
the Energizer
whole
body.
process, right? And so
Hmm.
as I've been working with clients, I learned that that's a lot of their processes too.
Hmm.
How am I just supposed to go from one whole role to a sexy playmate? How,
Hmm.
help me understand how that's supposed to happen in
Hmm.
15 minutes.
Hmm. No, that's really, really good. And I think um they're definitely, like you said, sensate focus. There are definitely some specific techniques I use with my clients, but a lot of times sex therapy is good communication. Sex therapy is good education. Sex therapy is teaching people how to have hard conversations, how to have conversations at all, period. And so that, what I would say, would be our biggest technique, is teaching people how to just say stuff, just ask stuff, and just have a conversation about it. We all, me included, we have a whole conversation with our partner in our heads before we say anything out loud. And so I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what we do a lot of times, is just say, but did you say any of that out loud? You know, especially the clients who will look at their partner, judge whether their partner is tired or wants to have sexual activity or not, and then they just shut it down in their head, and their partner had no idea any of those thoughts happened and would have been open to the conversation. And so I think that's probably our most powerful technique that we use in sex therapy, is just giving people permission to communicate and teaching them how to communicate with that. Let's see. I have, for me, a really fun technique. because I got to use it this week. It is always so fun when I use it, but it's a simple game that any couple can play. And I just call it, and I like, okay, I cuss in this one, but I like it. And so
You
I'll
might be picking
say,
up something new.
no, yeah. And it's I call it the sexy as hell game. And
So
so
what is
one
it?
partner, sexy as hell.
Sexy. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
And so I'll have one partner use that sentence stem. I think it's sexy as hell when you. And then they have to say it to the other partner. And then they just go back and forth, back and forth. And partners are usually quite surprised. Really? I didn't know that. Like, because people will find this the simplest things. Like, I think, I've heard people say, like, I think it's sexy as hell when you wear those black jeans. Or I think it's sexy as hell when you are cutting the grass. Or I think it's sexy as hell when you open a door for me. And definitely it could be, some more things, some other things, some more intimate things. But usually my couples say things like that, and the other partner's like, really? Because I cut grass every day. if that's what's going to do it for you. And so that's one of the techniques that I love to use, and I love couples to use, and they usually giggle, and sometimes people can say the cuss word and sometimes people can't, and it's just so funny. But it's a technique that couples can start using immediately, and they find out a lot about each other and how their partner is thinking.
That's so
with
good.
that. Yeah, I think the thing of it is, we don't realize how sexy authenticity is. Just when somebody's being their natural self, doing their natural things. And so, I've heard men say, like, I think it's sexy as hell when you washing the dishes. And then usually the lady is like, okay, what? Because she's in house mode, clean mode, get the job done mode. And he's just, I don't know, just something about you, like washing dishes and, maybe dancing to the music or something like that. So that's one of the techniques that I really love to use, because it's just fun. It's always fun because it instantly changes the mood. Mm-hmm. And so going back to date nights or setting aside, that's a nice way for a couple to start. Maybe if they have a patio, sit out on the patio and then exchange those lines for about 5 minutes. I'm telling you, it'll completely change the mood, because it just gets you thinking differently. And when we think differently, we act differently. Okay. All right, Joe, anything you want to add? Anything that's coming up for you?
And I just wanted to just piggyback on what you all been saying. And I had spoke to years ago a man, and he had been married. He's been married for 26 years. Mm-hmm. And I said, what is the key to your marriage? And he said, communication. That was it. Communication. Wow. Good communication. Mm-hmm. And he said, if you learn to communicate well, when this was a man to his wife, if you learn to communicate well, he said, you'll have a good marriage. He said, now there are things in there. He said, but that's the key, is communication. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I've heard, and this is kind of segueing into what we're talking about this week, is things that make people have lost interest in their marriage after years of marriage. Mm-hmm. And they don't know how to get the spark back. Mm-hmm. They want to, but they don't know how. And they called in for sex therapy. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put that out there on the table for you all. And that's one of the calls that I got for a couple, and both of them were on there. They love each other. They communicate well. And I said to them, I said, you are doing an amazing job just communicating, because when they call, I listen to them and I'm like, one's in the background arguing. No, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you all need help.
Right.
But most of the time they're on one page, and they think they're having a hard time, but they're doing really well, as far as their relationship. That this particular couple called in and said they love one another. They just want to be able to articulate better in the bedroom what to do to make it more exciting and more fun. Mm-hmm. Can you help us?
Yeah. And I think this is really, I think people overthink it. This is no different than when you get tired of cooking the same thing. You go get a new recipe book and you start trying new recipes, or you switch to a different channel on the cooking network and you start looking for new recipes, or you go take a new class. I think the biggest thing is to realize when you're in a marriage, usually you've made it farther in a relationship than you've ever been before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so most people have not been in multiple 20-year marriages. So it's usually only one. So I think, first of all, identify that, and I don't think we have a lot of good examples of what a sex life looks like in a 20-year marriage, in a 30-year marriage, in a 40-year marriage, in a 50-year marriage. We don't have a lot of couples who are 50 years old saying, this is what we're doing in our sex life. This is how we kept it alive. And so for a lot of people, it's just new territory. And I just want you to relax and understand, okay, I've never had to maintain a sex life for 30 years before. I just got here. And so how do we want to do this now? So communication, partnership. Well, what do you want to do? Well, what do you want to do? Well, I've always wanted to try this. Okay, let's go try that. Well, I've always wanted to try this. Well, let's go try that. So it is going to take some intentionality. But just like with anything else, I'm bored with my career. Okay, what are we gonna do? we gonna get a new book. We're gonna get a new class. We're gonna maybe upgrade our skills. We're going to do something different. And so that is the only thing. And I think we kind of feel like sex is almost like one and done. Like we've got a sexual relationship, there, it's done. But it is a skill. It is a relationship that you continue to build upon. And so just like anything else, if you worked on the same job for 20 years, you would probably get bored doing the same thing. And so even if you just go into the same restaurant every week for 20 years, it would get bored and you would do the same thing. And so just acknowledging, okay, it's okay. It doesn't mean anything. We just need to actively figure out, how do we make this better for ourselves? That's it. Sharon, anything did you want to add to that?
No.
Okay. I'm going to circle back around and talk about sensate focus, because in sex therapy, that is the main tool that we use. And sensate focus is simply guided exercises that move you very slowly. So let's say if I have a couple and they haven't had sex in 20 years, okay, they don't even remember how to touch each other. And so sensate focus is very systematically and strategically having them increase intimate touch until they get to the point where they can have a sexual, maybe intercourse experience with each other. And it may not even be intercourse. And so depending on how comfortable they are is where we start. And so it may be, let's just have y'all hold hands in the movie theater. That could be step one. If I feel like they can hold hands, then, okay, how about you guys give each other hand massages? Just get used to touching each other again, being touched and touching and being intimately close to somebody, physically close to somebody. Okay, if that works, then let's give each other face massages or back massages. And so we're going to increase the level of it slowly. And every time you come back to the session, we're going to talk about what worked, what didn't work. What did you feel anxious about? What did you not feel anxious about? What did you really like about the experience? What did you not like about the experience? Okay, how do we take it up to the next notch? I think what has been most interesting to me is a couple where intercourse is off the table for whatever reason, medical anxiety, who knows, or sometimes it's just intercourse is so anxiety provoking for them that just laying together naked has given that sense of intimate closeness. Like I've had several couples where they got to that point and they just felt like a different couple. And so they were like, we're kind of good. We may come back and try to, continue to get ourselves to intercourse, but we're feeling good right here where we are. Like this works. This is sustainable with that. Because touch needs are real. Like touch needs are valid. And so if we can just get each other kind of touching each other and communicating well about that touch, a lot of times that does it. That does it. It really does. And I love when my guys, when they, because they'll articulate, it's not just about the sex. Like, I want to have it, but it's so much more than that. Like, I want to be connected. I want to be close. And a lot of men that feel that closeness, that emotional closeness, when they're physically close, when they're being touched with that. And we know that in kind of every other area, but sometimes a committed relationship, it can get a little, I think, more convoluted, like we know we need to hug kids. We know we need to, like touch them and lay our hands on them, or our parents, and want to touch them and lay our hands on them with that. But sometimes in romantic relationships, it can be very loaded. And so we start pulling away from each other because I'm scared. If I touch them, they might want sex from me, and I don't feel like I can deliver, or I don't want to deliver, or they always want it from me and I don't know what to do. And so then by the time the couple reaches us, especially if it's been more than 6 months since they've had sex, they aren't touching at all. Like, no hug goodbye, no kiss good morning, no nothing. And so sensate focus is definitely that main thing we use in sex therapy, where we actually are getting the couple touching again with that. Okay, Sharon, what are you thinking? What's coming up for you?
Okay, yeah. So I do use that intervention. And so it works. And
thank you.
And I have, some people feel like if we can, they look at it as practice before the real thing. So some people have had a way now to say, well, yeah, we do that first. And then we keep practicing and rehearsing that same thing. And then in a few weeks, we play it out the same way, and I'm able to be more relaxed about the penetration or intercourse part of it. Especially when you have one partner that's like, I want to do it from the ceiling fan. I want to do it on the table. No, for real. It's boring. I tried to take them outside. They didn't want to. So they were like, well, when they're like that, if we could just rehearse it first and just focus on touch and not necessarily focus on the orgasm or the finale or the home run. Yeah. If we can do that in these different areas that this person wants to explore in, it's made me more comfortable when it's time for the big finale. Then it just sort of started naturally happening.
Yeah, that's right. One other thing I want to talk about, a technique that we have that I don't think and Sharon, you do it all the time, and I don't think we even realize that it's a technique, but definitely just helping people think about sex and sexuality differently. So to use CBT terms, reframing it with that. And that can be so helpful. So for example, if I have a couple who is, this happens a lot. My partner's a sex addict. They want it all the time. Oh man. Well, wait a minute. Let's back up. They haven't had sex with you in 2 years. And so, yeah, it seems like they're all the time. Just like if you haven't eaten in 2 days, it's going to feel like you're hungry all the time because you're hungry. So let's just back up and look at that and see that, and how can we reframe that with that, with that. I don't like sex at all. Okay, let's back up. Is there any part of it you do like? You don't like when somebody comes, rubs your back. You don't like when your skin is touched. You don't like when what part? Well, yeah, I do like that. Okay, well, that's part of a sexual experience. So maybe we can be open to you liking some parts of it. And so really kind of helping clients reframe how they're thinking. I think this week I had a couple, we talked about, these are heterosexual couples, but in this particular, the situations that I'm thinking, one partner was feeling as if sex was being taken from them. Oh. Yes. And so we talked about, what if it becomes something you provide for them? It's the difference between somebody selling you something and you going shopping. We love to go shopping, but I don't want you to sell me anything. but we
Yeah.
love to go shopping. And so sometimes just helping clients reframe. So it's like, you don't want your partner selling you sex. So, but can we talk about you offering? Like, can you provide? Can it be an event that you go do and have fun with that? So if I'm going to Macy's, because I really want to go to Macy's right now. If I'm going to Macy's to shop, it feels completely different than somebody showing up at my door to sell me some lipstick, even though I'm going to Macy's to shop. And so really just kind of reframing and rethinking that is one of the huge techniques that we use in sex therapy. So, okay. All right. Final remarks, Joe, before we end for the day.
I don't know. That is just so good. I think this needs to be on TV.
From your lips to God's ears. Woohoo!
And it's simple stuff.
Yeah,
It's just simple things. But overall, I was writing it down, and I love the techniques, and I like the selling points that you all were talking about as far as touching and, just to start slow. And I liked what Sherian said, that the fan thing was good. I was like, they're gonna have to brace that fan really well. But you add some fun into it so that people know that they don't have to be in one spot, to enjoy life and sex. So just overall, this was a good session. I just enjoyed it. No recaps. It was very good. Very good.
Okay. Well, thank you. Very good. Ladies, I thank you. And I was just listening to one of our the video from last time, and we just have a ball, and I love hearing you guys speak. So we'll continue on. So we'll be here next week, and then we'll take a break for Thanksgiving. But until then, all right. See y'all later. Bye. I hope you enjoyed our content today. We are here at Atlanta Sex Therapy to serve. If you did like our content, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Also, click the little bell so you can get notifications when we put new videos out. People don't know what sex therapists do, and we're trying to get the information out there and spread the word. So I'm going to ask you to send this to 3 people, because you never know who may be in need of more good information about sex. Thank you, and just have a wonderful day in life.